Welcome to Launch Today, the podcast focused on what it takes to get your new business to $1 million or more in revenue, from marketing tactics to incredible guest interviews. We focus on sharing behind-the-scenes insight from masters in their field. If you want to grow the revenue for your startup or your business, you don't want to miss today, because today's guest is Brennan Schlagbaum, a financial expert who has helped thousands to achieve financial freedom through his platform, Budgetdog. Brennan is a USA Today national bestseller, CPA, and the aforementioned founder of Budgetdog, where he empowers families to master their finances and achieve generational wealth. With a background in financial accounting and a mission to impact lives, Brennan has built a multi-million-dollar life for himself while educating others across the nation. Brennan, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Trevor. Thanks for having me, man.
Awesome. The first question I always like to ask is, why do you do what you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, this dates back, I feel like I'm old now. I'm only 33, so I'm not that old. But when we started our own financial journey, we were about 22 years old, 23 years old. And so we had a lot of debt ourselves, and we were not in a good financial position. And we did not come from, a family that talked about personal finance a lot. So it was very new to us. We graduated college. We had all this debt. We had all these new things coming at us in adulthood, and we were just starting our career. And we realized we could actually fix this once and for all. And so that's exactly what we did. My background is a CPA. I was at Deloitte at the time, and I had the expertise to do it. I just never really systemized the way to do it. And I didn't really have that background education too much growing up. And so what I did is I figured out what worked for us. And it was very practical expertise that I just applied within my profession to our personal situation, and made some links and connections from personal or from professional to personal. And from that, we paid off $304,000 of debt in 5 years. We became millionaires in 7 years, and we realized that we had something that worked. And so what I did was I started talking about this online during that time when we were paying off all this debt and building a lot of wealth. And people were curious. People were wanting to know what I did to pay off all this debt, to build a lot of wealth. So I just started sharing. And there was no intention, there was no reason to build a business per se, but people were asking me, and the demand was so high that I had to leave my 9-to-5 eventually to be able to help other people do this. That's exactly what we did. And so we turned this thing into a systematic engine, to where you mentioned earlier, we actually wrote the national bestseller, The Roadmap to Financial Freedom here, which is sitting right here on my desk, of course. I'm very, very happy about that and proud of that. But it's to build a system for the everyday person to build extreme wealth at a very fundamental way. There's a lot of stuff online that's, let's call it get rich quick stuff, and you don't need that. And you still can build real wealth with fundamental ways. And that's exactly what we do each and every day with all of our students and everybody that follows us.
That's a great story. So building financial freedom is the core of your mission. And Crowd Tamers, our mission is to help 1,000 founders make $1 million a year. So we're it's a big goal, right? Is what I think makes a company interesting. What made the goal of building financial freedom, how do you make that something that's tangible, that you can say, hey, this is what you have if you want to be financially free?
Yes, for sure. So it depends. Everybody's goals are going to be different, personal financial goals. But the thing is, when somebody comes into the program, when somebody works with us, there's a very fundamental roadmap through 6 months. It's a 6-month process where we are going to essentially dissect your process or your system, like what you currently have. We're going to implement our system into your life, and we're going to ask you exactly what you want to accomplish. And so whatever that is, it's going to vary person to person. Some people want to pay off debt. Some people want to build, true financial freedom and be out of the 9-to-5 tomorrow. And so whatever that is, we're going to work with you on a fundamental process to get you to that end goal. And those timelines are going to be different. It's just the reality of the work that we do. There's no guaranteed set result of $1 million net worth within 3 years, because everybody's income's different. Everybody's family situation is different. There's so many variables in the situation. However, what we do guarantee is that we get you to your intended outcome. And whatever that is, when you come into the program, we will guarantee that. We don't guarantee a specific timeline, of course, but we'll work through that very early within the first 2 months, essentially, and be able to outline the timelines, how much it requires, everything that goes into that to make that happen and make that dream come true. Sometimes that is a 1-year plan. Sometimes it's a 3-month plan, depending on where you're starting. But sometimes it might be a 7-year plan, just like us. Sometimes it might be a 10-year plan. I will say this, with the systemization that we've implemented, typically people move a lot faster than they initially expect. It was the exact same reality with us. The reason that happens typically is because the way we set things up, we make sure you're at your base level with your current income and that you guarantee the result with your current income. And what happens is people increase their income with time. And so that speeds that journey up. Also, the intentionality behind the individual, when they see that outcome, they salivate. They get excited. I didn't know I could become a millionaire within 5 years. I didn't know that was a reality. Now that I do, I'm going to be hyper intentional, hyper focused, and I know exactly what my plan is. That always speeds people up. I saw it on our journey, and I've seen it with 2,000 other families, and it's like clockwork every single time. So it's always good when somebody gets their actual plan in the beginning and they're like so excited, but I always like wink at them and I say, listen, this is the bare minimum that we're going to get to. You're going to speed this journey up because we did a very conservative approach to be able to get that goal.
I get it. So setting and achieving big goals is recurring. It's in Budgetdog. It's in your book. I think any founder who launches a business should have a big goal in mind. What strategies do you find are effective for setting an ambitious goal and then still hitting it?
Organization is, I just got off a call with a student a second ago. Organization and simplification is the name of the game. I'm sure a lot of the listeners here have listened to Alex Hormozy and people like that, Russell Brunson. And one thing they say is simple scales, fancy fails. And I really apply that approach within our business as a whole. I always say less is more. We operate out of EOS, which is out of the book called Traction. It's the less you do, the better result you're going to get typically, because you can actually focus on that one thing. I just got off a call with one of our students that just graduated. He's like, one of the big changes, like I didn't think it was going to be a big change, was automating all of my bills, automating all my debt pay downs, and automating all of my investments. The other big change he did, which was very simple as well, was going from 3 credit cards to 1 credit card, because he could see everything, all activity within one versus death by a million paper cuts. And those little changes, like you wouldn't really, like you hear those things, but you don't actually usually apply those things. Those make some of the biggest, monumental shifts for a lot of people. So what we do within our system is we simplify to 3 core financial statements, which is balance sheet, budget, amortization schedule. And then we have a step-by-step outline to say, with all of that happening, we're going to automate that. And then we're going to say step-by-step what's going to happen in order. And the automation is going to take care of the rest. One thing he also said was today, he's like, man, life has been so busy over the last quarter, but my net worth grew $55,000 over 3 months. And I was like, wow, thinking back to the quarter we're in Q1 2025, the market was down 15% at one point in time. And so I was mentioned to him, I was like, with the market down, your net worth went up 55,000. He's like, yeah, everything was automated. We were rolling. It was great. And I was like, that's exactly what I want to see. If you bring that into an up market, if you bring those principles into a good market, a decent market, you're going to see even bigger growth. And then you're going to see the compounding effect over time. And the cool thing is you don't have to do anything with that. You automate the whole process. So you're taking out the human component, the emotion side, and you're bringing in almost a robotic type of way that's just easy for everybody once you set it up.
So that brings an interesting point in, right? I think you've used the quote, right? Life is about making an impact, not making an income, but making an income still matters.
Sure.
How does pursuit of a financial goal impact your ability to make an impact? If your goal in the end is change something big in the world,
sure,
money helps, but why does that, aside from just having money, what is about this discipline that helps?
Yeah, this is a great question. So my daughter has a 1 in 16,000 syndrome called Dravet Syndrome. That is something at this current moment, as we speak today, has no actual solution in the medical field. One thing they're working on is gene therapy. Gene therapy is not cheap. If I want to contribute to that ultimate outcome of gene therapy, of having a significant impact on that study or that revelation, there has to be money given to that cause, into the studies, into the salaries that fund those studies. And so one thing we made a mission of is not all income, but a lot of the income that we bring in goes to other things that have good causes. And even the roadmap to financial freedom on the back, you can see it's dedicated to my daughter who's battling Dravet syndrome. all of that money, 100% of the funds that go to that book go straight to fund the studies. We have $1 million donation goal. If we weren't able to have the discipline to earn the money, to build the business, to do all these things, and we wouldn't have an impact. And people don't like to hear that, but it's just the reality. Money does help a lot of things, and it does fund a lot of good causes. And unless you have the money, it's harder to make a bigger impact. It's just the life that we live, and right or wrong, it's just how it is. And so the more discipline you have, the quicker you get to your ultimate outcome. And what I've realized along the journey is, like, from a financial standpoint, I don't need anything else. And so what's my main drive at this point in time? It has nothing to do with a selfish desire to make more money, to have more stuff. Like, I'm a pretty simple person, but it does have to do with being able to give back at a huge level, at a great level. And so my main focus is to make more money, to be able to give more money as well. And I think that income's important, obviously, to get you to your goals, to make you whole, to make you in a strength position. If you're not strong yourself, it's hard to give yourself to others. If you're weak-minded, you're going to be having a hard time helping other people. If you're a strong person, if you've been able to help yourself, you're able to give a lot more to other people. And that's what at its core, that's what I'm trying to get people to. Because we do this thing, the 9-to-5 grind, all these things that we just don't want to do, but we have to do because of money, and we're always on this treadmill. And what I'm trying to get people to is off that treadmill, so that you can actually focus on purpose, on mission, on everything you want to do, and that you don't need much to do that. And when you actually map this stuff out, you can actually build a system that gets you to that place. That's where you actually experience fulfillment, happiness, true, like, what life's about. And that's really what we're trying to get to.
So you've built a platform, Budgetdog, and people naturally like it sticky. People engage with it. Budgeting is not, for a lot of people, a naturally fun thing, right?
It's not.
I've worked with other fintech companies that are trying to solve some of the problems around, like, compulsive overspending, and I'd say the dark side of what happens when you have some money and then it goes out of your hands. How do you make Budgetdog? Like, how do you design Budgetdog to be something that people want to use? Unlike, I don't know, QuickBooks, right? No one goes, oh, yes, QuickBooks. How do you make that difference?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is showing the outcomes of all of the previous students, myself, other people, showing my real life, like, buys, my investment buys, what my outcome is, the lifestyle we live, to show people what it actually, like, the destination of where they're trying to get is appealing to a lot of people. The process of driving from, let's call it, North Carolina to Florida for vacation, that's not the fun part. But when you get to Florida, that's really fun. You're hanging out on the beach. And I think that showing that over and over and over, and realizing that budgeting is not a restrictive thing, but it's more so aligns your life with the way you want to live your life from a value-based perspective. And so I always talk about budgeting as a spending plan to align your life with the values that you want to lead with. And so reframing that from the front end, to not say, hey, I'm going to take away with the budget. That's not what it should be like. It shouldn't be taking away. It should be adding. It should be adding value to your life. And so maybe the wasteful spend that you've always had because you never paid attention goes away. So maybe we do take that away in a sense, but maybe we give you more for what matters in your life that brings more fulfillment, that brings more joy. And that's where I focus on, is kind of that reframe, and then also the destination of, once you do that, once you automate this process, which I like to take out of their hands, because you don't want to let them always have to do in the spreadsheet kind of type of work. That's kind of boring. I take as much as that I can and automate that out through AI tools, and let the outcome of that excite them to continue at that pace.
That's excellent. I think it is for many people. If I don't have to think about it, then I will do the thing that is not in my short-term interest, right? Like, I have automatically, I think from my wife and me both, we do like $500 a month. Just goes into our Fidelity investment account, right? Just goes away. Into an index fund. I'm not smart enough to pick stock. Into an index fund.
Hey, we do ETFs and index funds too. There's no shame in that. You'll have better success.
Than trying to pick a stock, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, letting that go, right? And then I never think about it. It comes the same day that I pay myself, because I run my own business, so I pay me, right? I might usually have in the bank account, and the way it immediately goes. I don't think about it. That is, I think, the only effective saving strategy I have is long term. I mean, obviously, short term, I've got whatever's in my savings account. And every once in a while, sure, I'll put a big lump sum over. But the automated, I guess, what is that? 12 grand a year, right? Is way more effective than me being like, oh, I've got 10 grand in the account. Let me move 8 of it over, right?
Yep.
That kind of thing. So
And we
awesome.
zero everything out. So the income that comes in consistently, we're already planning what are our typical expenses, what are our average expenses. Those are automated out, typically fixed expenses type deal, mortgage, car, stuff like that. And then below that, we have our one-time expenses if you do have any of those things where we plan well in advance with sinking funds. And then outside of that, it's your free cash flow. So all that free cash flow at the bottom, that kind of remainder portion, we will set that up to be, let's say there's $2,000 a month extra. We'll say, okay, this $2,000 a month needs to go somewhere. It can go to fun. It can go anywhere you want, but let's automate that out so that we know before the month happens where that's going to go. And so if that's all your investments, you want to speed that journey up, go for it. And if you want to pull back, totally fine. But we want to set that up so we don't have the decision every month to think harder and, life changes, right? The market changes. Your life experience changes. We don't want to give ourselves, our simple brains, I always joke about, the ability to make that decision every single month. As a founder like yourself, I'm sure you can appreciate this, but the decision fatigue with all these micro decisions all over your life. I like to take that out of the thought process and just systemize, schedule, whatever the case is. And it makes your life just so much easier. And everyone realizes it once they do it. But most of them don't realize how much of a burden that is to decide each and every month until they stop doing it. And then they're like, wow, I have better decision making. I have more time. It's actually better. And so they all get to that point eventually.
So some of what BudgetDog does, I don't think is directly revenue generating for you. I'm thinking of BudgetDog Academy, where you work with students, right? This is the same way how I mentor startups. I've taught 6,000 founders, and I've done 75 cohorts of startups through a Founder Institute. How to make money from it, right? Why do you do some things here with, for example, BudgetDog Academy with students where students don't have millions of dollars? Why are you working with them right now when it's not necessarily in your commercial interest to do so?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is I see my previous self in a lot of my people that I work with. And so 10 years ago, I was in that position. I didn't really have the extreme hope and confidence I do now because I see the outcome. But I know that every last person, I talked to Anthony this morning, one of my students, and he was saying, or he was right before this call, and he was like, man, just thank you for all the content you put out, all the relatable stuff you put out. It's like, it makes me, he joked, he's like, every single night before I go to bed, I go on Threads, and you're the only one of two people I follow, and I just go through all your stuff through the given day because you give me so much hope and confidence that I can do this. And he comes from the previous field, the ex Big Four, so he was with PwC, I was with Deloitte, and he sees a lot of himself in me. And so I think a lot of the people I'm talking to are my 23-year-old self, financial self, at least that is, and they realize this is doable, this is attainable, and that lights me up more than any other dollar amount possibly could, or any wire amount could. And it's exciting to see somebody change their life, like, truthfully. We see that the amount of wins we get on a daily basis, like within the academy, it's not even, when I started this thing, I didn't think that was going to be the case. I'll be honest. I guess I didn't think it wasn't going to be the case. It was the volume of wins that we're getting is more than I probably thought about and expected in the beginning. But that's kind of the compounding effect of doing this for such a long time and seeing wins pile up. Somebody goes through it 6 months, they're with us for a lifetime. But then, year one, they do a lot of stuff. But then year two, there's even a bigger compounding effect in year three and year four. And so we're starting to see that. And it's really cool to see it play out. And I can't imagine 10 years, 20 years, 30 years of the decisions they're making right now of how that's going to impact them. Like, a lot of them are like, man, I increased my net worth 200,000 in 2 years. I'm like, what? Like, that's insane. And there is no get rich quick component to it. It's just taking earned income and using a system to get you further into the goals that you want to get to.
Gotcha. So you mentioned something here that I rarely hear a software startup founder talk about, which is these users in 10 years. Most startups are looking at 18 months. Because if they're on the VC track, right, I've got to do my double, triple, or triple, double on my revenue numbers and my user growth, all these things. It's got to be within a year each. How do you take a longer time frame with your users and still succeed at managing the short-term pressures?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think first off is the founder's intention of their business. With a VC, you're trying to sell that thing maybe within a year and a half, and it's a SaaS, and it's a bunch of number growth and stuff like that. I was talking to my mother-in-law, who's actually behind me in the playroom with my daughters right now, and on the way home from Iowa, which we were up there for therapy for my daughter. And one of the things we talked about was like, she's like, "Would you want to sell this?" And I was like, "Never." So I don't have like a extreme push to like enhance user growth or do all these different metrics to then go sell this company down the road. Like, this is my brand, this is my personal brand, this is what I want to do, and this is what I enjoy. And so all good things do take time, and an individual's personal finances aren't going to be succeeded in like 1 year. It's just not going to be. And so it's kind of a lifetime growth. And so I want to create let's call it a system, or create a community of people that can consistently build, and people 10 years from now can go talk to the people that are just starting today and say, listen, this is what I went through 10 years ago. And there's more and more testimonials. As that grows, there's going to be more and more belief from the front end, which gets you better results long term. I'm a big believer in long-term growth. There are short-term, pressures per se on the student side that they need to pay off debt right now, credit card debt. But when they see the long-term growth and they realize there is also a path for the short term that we will map out with them, they'll see, if I can get through this sprint, I can win the marathon. I can do the 10-year sprint with, or 10-year marathon with everybody, but I have to do this sprint first to make sure I'm in shape to be able to handle the long term. And so I do manage both. They're both very important, but I think the more compounding effect we have within a community, the better growth long term for everybody, which benefits the masses at a larger scale. And that's what my concern is. It's not to go quick sell to some VC firm. It's just not. And so my goal is to really take this to the next level and create a community that you look back in 10 years, and maybe we do sell in 25, 30, 40, 50 years to some massive company, and we can make a bigger impact. But the only way I would ever sell is if I could be able to have a significant reason to make a bigger impact for my people.
I understand. So you're up against some bigger folks, right? I mean, Mint before Intuit bought and then murdered them. Honeydew, there's a bunch of apps, right? They are working on budgeting. And you're winning despite being against people who have bigger budgets and brand equity. What is your tactic to go up against somebody who's got, it looks like, all the cards, in their hand, and yet you're still winning? What's the tactic there?
I don't have competition, like, just truthfully. I don't look at I never in my whole entire life have ever looked at somebody else as my competition. That might sound cliche. I just really haven't. I don't know if I have supreme confidence in what I offer. I can't even really explain that. I've never looked at somebody else as competition. I've always looked as, I know I'm really good at what I do, and I know I can help a lot of people. And so if other people have a better tactic or better skill set or better software, so be it. They get a lot of people. This market's huge. I mean, there's 7 billion people that could be using that need personal finance, right? Like, that's just the reality. Money is part of our society and every day. So everybody needs this. So there's so many fish and there's so many people out there that need this. So I don't look at it as like, oh, this one company is going to take me out tomorrow. I know I'm authentic. I know I'm real. And I know that's not out in the marketplace. Everyone's thinking of like, what's the app to sell and stuff like that. I'm just like, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's exactly how to do it. If you guys model, you're going to get my results as well. And I think the relatability aspect, even Anthony was saying that this morning. He's like, there's just like realness to you that you're like, hey, you're the everyday person doing this, and like you're actually showing us what you do with the actual buys themselves. It's not just some system or robot. And so honestly, that's the way I think about it. And I've never looked to compete in the market per se. One of my biggest competitors other people talk about, even my marketing team's like, you should be looking into what Dave Ramsey does. I'm like, Dave Ramsey tried to hire me. I declined him respectfully, because I mean, I could have joined the bigger guy, but I know what we have here is special. And so I just have a lot of faith and confidence in what we offer. And I think God's leading me in the right path to be able to provide. And that's really what it comes down to.
Okay. So you've already mentioned a couple times, right? Your father's the 2 daughters. how did becoming a father change your views as an entrepreneur and kind of as a person looking to make something of their life?
Yeah. Man, if you want to have some pressure or from some like automatic incentive to do something or motivation, just have a kid. I'm telling you right now, that's like the biggest hack to life. So when we first started, like we did this before my first daughter was born. She's 3.5 now. My other one's 1.5. You might hear him in the background. But like when we first started, it was like more just like I would say a selfish desire to a certain extent. Like, hey, we want to build financial freedom for ourselves, I guess you could say. But as they came along, and especially with Logan's medical needs, it became instantly all about them. And that desire to build not only for them, but also for other people in the pursuit of that it just came natural. And you can't really explain it, but as a father, I think everybody, or as a mother, as a parent in general, I think you just understand there's the extra pressure and extra drive and desire to go do something. Because not only are you providing for them, but you're also showing them through your actions what you're about, the values that you hold, all of those different things that they pick up on. Like kids like study you as you're their everything. So they're studying you, what you say, what you do, how you act, and they model themselves right after you. So if you don't bring the best of yourself, the best version of yourself, you're going to get a lackadaisical version of the next generation, and that's not what I'm about. So I have to make sure I'm on my A game at all times so that they see that and they hold themselves to that standard.
That's cool. I have twin 6-year-olds, and one is about to turn 10. And so something about, for me, it was the second kid, or I guess the two. They arrived, 2 and 3. Forced me to go from, hey, I'm a person who is a parent, to now I'm a parent who has a business. And that shift to me also meant I went like, okay, well, what are the non-negotiables? What do you have to be doing?
Mm-hmm.
And one of my goals, and it's always next year, is work 30 hours a week and still have the income I want to see. And then I'm always too into what I'm building to be as, available to just go grab the kids early at 3:00 every day and come play with them. But I do think it is, it forces a focus, right? To be like, okay, well, running your own business and then being a parent, every decision was always your fault anyway. Like every problem is always your fault. But now also, like in my case, I think if I total up all the people, it's like 17 people whose livelihood depends on me not getting it all wrong, because I've got my employees, many of them have kids, right? So it's like, okay, like you got to be here today, Trevor. You got to do a good job. Otherwise, a whole lot of people's lives are worse if you don't do it right.
That's a really good point. That was something I wasn't expecting as a founder. Is like, you obviously are helping like your students and you're helping your family, but like all of a sudden you have employees underneath you. I mean, we have, like I said, like in our Slack right now, we currently have 35 people, and like to think about that, their livelihood, like you mentioned, is dependent on how the business performs. There's an extra level of pressure when it comes to that you don't realize when you first start, because you don't know what that company is going to grow to. So when I first started, it was me. And it was one person, then it was 2 people, then it was 4 people, then it was 8 people, and it only consistently grew. And all of a sudden, you hit those bottlenecks where you're just like kind of staying consistent, and you're like, I got to break through that ceiling so I can help more people and help more, my people. You get paid more, and that's just an ever-ending thing you have to balance. And I have a lot of respect for founders that are parents as well, because that juggle thing that you have to kind of do between being a parent, which is a massive responsibility, and being a founder is not easy. So one thing we've done ourselves was my wife was able to stay at home. There was a non-negotiable with that so that she could handle Logan's medical needs and be home 24/7. That's why she's in the playroom behind with her mom. Our whole entire family moved to Texas where we live now, because we moved across the country as well for Logan as well. So it was just, there were some things that we put in our favor so that we were able to help her to the best way possible. And the other thing is building a system that's automated for you, what I talk about a lot, not only with your finances, but also with your business, because you have time, or you should have time. Now, I'm an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur. You know how one little tiny seed planted in your mind turns to 60 hours a week all of a sudden, because it's like, oh my God, I can do this. And it just all connects. And before you know, you're like staring at your computer like at 2 a.m. So I get that. The thing. But if you can systemize your business to be in there 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week, and just have a very reasonable schedule with having a parental schedule in mind as well, you can get there. There are seasons of growth, and there's seasons of sacrifice, and seasons of abundance. And like, there's some times where, even as a dad, I do get hyper focused on something because I know I can make a big impact. But then there's also weeks where I spend maybe 10 hours a week working, and I am really pretty much with them even when I'm working that whole entire week, at breakfast, at lunch, at dinner, walking throughout the day, going to different activities, and spending the past 2 weeks up in Iowa for her special intensive therapy. I was able to do that without any issue whatsoever. So there are times where there's going to be different seasons, but you have to embrace that as an individual.
Got that. So as you might be able to tell from my backdrop, not a backdrop, it's real. These are actually here. They're not. It's not AI. I like a good book, and
Same.
Oh, they are. So this is every National Geographic from January 1949 to December 2024.
Wow.
And it's because, like, I mean, I do this on this podcast. I love looking at the old ads.
Yeah.
And, language changes as the years go by. I love that what this ad is advertising here isn't what it used to be advertising.
A little different.
They should bring it back, but they'll get a different crowd if they do it now.
Oh, yeah, a little different in meaning there.
A little bit different. Right? Those kind of things. I've got, for a client of mine, we're doing a branding package, and I'm like working out logo. This is the old school way, right? This is how you know I'm 43 and not 30 something. Is I start from here, and I'm part of what I'm doing is I'm going and looking in, back in the 70s, 60s, 50s, like what were they doing for design then? Let that fire something in my brain. And then, so it's a great resource for me, right? But I always like to ask, I mean, I can guess one of your recommendations for a book is going to be the one that is to your immediate right. But if you tell a founder, hey, you should read this book as a founder because it will teach you something important about being a founder, fiction, nonfiction, like whatever. What's the recommendation you have for somebody?
Traction, without question.
That's a good book.
That book has made such a significant impact on our business as a whole. When you're first starting, any entrepreneur knows this, it's just like chaos. It feels like everything's breaking. It feels like everything's going everywhere. It feels like every system's doesn't work effectively. And what Traction does is give you a framework, an entrepreneur operating system called EOS, to really focus in on what matters and simplify to what actually drives a business forward. And I'm a CPA, like that's my background. And so I'm very type A, very focused, very systemized. And so it really, really spoke to me because it allowed me to see what matters in very simple way. And it also relays that to the entire team. So as you grow, as more people come onto your team, communication channels are ultra important. Yeah. You'd be amazed at what things get missed in translation if you don't have proper communication channels upward and downward.
Give me a second here. My camera lost focus. I just now realized. I normally have myself covered when we're talking, so I don't stare at me. And my camera has... There we go. Sorry.
It's working.
Please continue.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah, no, all good, man. And so, those communication channels upward and downward are so important. And what we didn't have in the business early on was exactly that, plus actual focus. Okay. And so, you have agencies come in, you have different employees, you have 1099 contractors, and, everybody has their own agenda in a sense. They're all trying to have a good outcome for you, but because everybody's going in the opposite direction somewhat, they're all going a million miles an hour, and that doesn't ever go well together. And so what Traction provides is a very simple framework so that you don't have those issues. Now, I think business in general is always problem solving, which I love. Sometimes I would love a little less problem solving and just fluidity. But it's always constant problem solving. There's always something that pops out, it feels like eventually. But those issues become smaller and smaller and less with time. And Traction gives you a really good framework to do that.
Gotcha. So you live in Dallas-Fort Worth, which is not a common tech startup area, I think. Austin has been kind of
Austin is
virgin
out to me about 4 hours.
but DFW is not super known for it. Building in a not super tech area, how have you found that influences what you're doing with Budgetdog?
Yeah, I honestly, where I've lived in Cincinnati most of my, even when we started, we lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, Northern Kentucky area, which is definitely not a tech startup focus. And Dallas, if anything, is one of the largest cities in the U.S. top 10, number 9, I think it is. I think the biggest thing is like the online influence that you have and see and can connect with. You know, I'm connected with so many entrepreneurs in different groups. I'm in a 2 Comma Club group, a WhatsApp group where there's like 15 2 Comma Club award winners that just talk about different ideas and things like that. So I still have direct connection with those individuals that have done those big things. And then also other entrepreneur groups as well. And a lot of them are virtual. And like in today's world, like you can be virtual. And if anything, you need to be virtual because there's quicker connectivity to those individuals. Not everybody can fly to one location in the central United States or in Canada and meet up. And if they did, it's going to be every once in a while. Whereas you have direct connectivity with all these individuals that are supremely confident in what they do, but also just very hyper successful. And so my focus is making sure I'm part of those groups all the time. And getting ideas and asking questions and running. I have way more questions than solutions, I can tell you that. But it's helpful when I drop those in because that also spurs more engagement and more conversation, which I think helps everybody. And so, physical location's not that relevant anymore in today's world, in my opinion. I know some people might argue that depending on which niche they're in, but for myself, it doesn't really impact too much.
Gotcha. Okay. So you had success, significant success at a relatively young age. And then you took that and you kind of used it to fuel what you're doing with Budgetdog. If Budgetdog has the effect you want to have, the big, large-scale effect you want to have, as you reach the advanced old age of me, right, a decade older than you, what is it you want to be doing in 10 years?
That's a great question. I've been asked this so many times. I don't know if I have a great answer. I will say as of today, I would love to be doing the same thing because here's the reality. I'm a very proactive individual. So if I want to do something else, I would do it right now. And I've been doing this for 6 years and I love every bit of it. And if anything, I just lean into harder and harder and harder every single day with my team behind the scenes, which a lot of students won't see, obviously, but it's to build different cool things for them. We've implemented it. We've had a dev team overseas come in and introduce AI a lot throughout our organization and also our tools. And so this is my focus. And so like, I've always kind of, I am a planner. I do think about the future a lot and like what I want to be doing. But as of today, I want to be doing this. And if you ask me in 10 years what I want to be doing, it would be what I'm doing today at this moment. That could change, that could shift, there could be a bigger impact, bigger journey down the line. But as of today, if you ask me in 10 years, it would be doing exactly what I'm doing today. And if I had any other vision or difference or change, I would be doing it, or I'd be working towards that new vision. But at its core, it's helping as many people as I possibly can. So whether that's in finance, whether that's in something else down the line, that's probably at its core what it's going to be around. And we'll see what that turns into or, shifts into with time. But as of today, man, it's personal finance and helping people get their money right because there's such a big impact I could make with that specific area.
Phenomenal. So anybody who's watching this who doesn't know you, where do they go find out more about you, Brennan?
Yeah, they can go on all social medias and find me at Budgetdog. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. My regular name on LinkedIn, not Budgetdog, I promise. And all of those different social media channels. Twitter, I think I mentioned all of them at this point in time. Instagram is definitely my biggest following. It's almost we're at 1 million followers. But then after that, you can go to my website, budgetdog.com, and we host a ton of free events, Monday through Wednesday. Every single week, we have a free 3-day challenge that people can go through. We have live events. We just did a live event this past Thursday, talking about child investing, and we have tons of stuff readily available, resources all over the place. Just come to my DMs, ask me, send me an email, brendan@budgetdog.com. Just whatever you guys need, I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, Brendan. If you are listening and you have not yet, subscribe to the show, like this episode. We're every week putting out more content from great entrepreneurs just like Brendan to help you understand how to chart your path to $1 million or more in revenue. Thanks so much, Brendan.
Thank you, Trevor.
You've been listening to Money on My Mind with your host, Brendan Schlagbaum. If you found value in today's discussion, share it with someone who could benefit from it too. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, so you never miss a money mastery tip. Until next time, stay passionate about your financial journey and keep taking bold steps towards your money goals.